One of these 24 albums is the worst thing I've heard in almost forever and couldn't even finish it. One of these albums is the best thing this band has ever done. And one of these albums is built off the back and the legacy of Chuck Schuldiner. And I need to let you know if they actually pulled this off. So 24 plus albums, 1 month. Let's go. We are going to jump into this. No filler. I'm going to make these kind of short. I was rambling on and giving you all this backstory. I'm just going to let you know if it's worth your time, who it's for, and what it actually kind of sounds like. So stick around because the worst record of the year is coming up soon. So let's jump in to the solid, dope stuff, a few of them first. So we got, we're going to jump into this Nunslaughter, Satanic Chaos Legions. So this is for fans of Necrophobic, The Crown Exhumed. They hit us with 14 songs in a concise 34 minutes. One of the most prolific satanic thrash death metal bands out there. They have like over 200 releases on their like Bandcamp with EPs and singles and splits and everything. I wasn't really privy to this band, but then I jammed this, and man, this record has the perfect production for this band. Some awesome riffs going on. The drums and the bass are absolutely badass on this. Memorable songs for a satanic death metal. They're kind of catchy, short, and in your face. I absolutely love this record, and I think you should check it out. Moving on, we got 5 songs from a band called Endseeker in their Coffin Born EP. I was turned on to this band by the art, looked cool. These German lads hit you with that HM2 death metal with a little bit of like that hard rock swagger almost in it, just with some more of the upbeats. This record was very clean and punchy. Overall, a decent EP. Not crazy, more like the 6 Feet Under type of death metal, but it wasn't too bad. It was pretty groovy, and I liked it. It was a little something different than what I thought it was going to be. And a new band to me, Apogean, hailing from Canada. They brand a progressive technical death metal vibe and deliver it in the form of Waste Where Life Begins. So it's about 33 minutes, 8 tracks. Man, this album blew me back. This is awesome death metal. Great songwriting on this thing. The musicianship matches the songwriting, just top notch. Kept me interested the whole time, throwing different elements at me instead of just some boring, bland stuff all the way through. I was actually super impressed by this band, and I'm definitely going to be spinning this one quite a few more times. So those were some of the easy, badass ones right off the bat. And here are a few different ones in a different form. So we got Entropist. This is for fans of like Human Abstract, BT Bam, Glass Casket kind of. It was even recorded by Jamie King. So it's kind of like all the heavy parts of BT Bam were kind of mashed together, but they do lend into some proggy parts. It's about 60 minutes, so it's got that prog element to it. It's packed to the gills with phenomenal playing. There are some clean elements. There are some dynamics. And they don't go completely genre bending like BT Bam, but they do show off a little bit of Spanish and circus feel here and there, but it's not throughout as much as like BT Bam. But the parts and the playing are genuinely impressive on this. These guys can actually play. And, man, they recorded it with the homie Jamie King, like I said, so that's what you can expect. A great recording, great production. The whole record rips, and I really liked it. So moving on, we got, what happens when you get some members from Incantation, Morbid Angel, and Dream Theater, former members, and then you have Flo from Cryptopsy on drums. You get Arise from Worms. The record is A Bleeding Tree Hanging Self-Destruction. This thing is insanely technical. It's a pretty interesting record. Haven't heard much like it. Cool in parts where they do get dark and heavy, almost black metal at times. The drumming on it, of course, is incredible. Super fast, super tight. But a little of this album suffers for me from, there's just a lot of herky-jerky, jilty stuff going on. And there's a lot of synth and like guitar solo runs, so they kind of get off of some of that death and black metal vibe that when they are in it, they really hone it in. And don't get me wrong, the playing on this is fantastic, and they do have some good songs, but it just is a little jilty and kind of all over the place. I do respect the proficiency of the playing on this, but yeah, it's a little middle of the road for me. Moving on to another band that I just got privy to is Seven Chains. This is avant-garde blackened death metal from Idaho. Their new album, Swollen in Flux. To me, this is kind of raw blackened death metal that is actually listenable, but sometimes they make some weird decisions, and I'm not really sure where we're trying to go with that. It sounds really ends up being disjointed, and I think they're going for this artsy approach, but the disjointedness of it actually takes away from that. So now, those bands at least put something good together, but then there's this one. This is the one I was talking about up front, but this is probably one of the worst things I've ever heard. And I don't like to shit on too many things, but I'm not playing it safe no more. I'm going to tell you if this shit sucks. And absolutely, Blood of Angels, Les Angst of Fantal. I almost knew it before I hit play that this was going to be absolute dog shit. Bad AI art, weird format, the way the art is formatted. The intro is 2 minutes of like random trying to be spooky noises. It almost sounds like one of them tapes you used to put around for Halloween during your on the porch when the kids come up for candy. It's absolutely absurd. The first song was probably the worst mix I've ever heard, at least this year. Then the first track was the worst recording and mix I've heard this year. And then I don't understand why someone in 2026 would put this out. It's absolutely unimaginable. Everything sounds terrible. It's poorly executed. The vocals are way too loud, if it even matters in this mix. Maybe it's some 14-year-old kids with no budget trying. Okay, kudos for trying, but God, man. Corny name, horrid performance. This gets one song listen after a terrible intro. The second song pops in. I just skip forward on it with a totally different mix than the first song. And then which is a million times better, but it's not even saying much for that. And then the song that follows is even a different mix. So like, what are we doing? Just stop. It's terrible. I don't know how anybody could say this is good. I kind of skimmed through the rest. There's this really terrible clean singing part on it too. This record was a disaster. Every song has a different and bad mix. Worst band ever. This shit sucks. But okay, so enough for that. Let's get to the palate cleanser. I'm getting on to one of my favorite records probably of this year so far, and a band that's privy to my heart because Blythe was on the show. We're talking about No Cure, It's Going to Get Dark. This is by far the best record they have put out yet. I absolutely loved it. It's a perfect length of 32 minutes over 12 songs. Blake's vocals are super impressive on this. A bunch of variety. Seem to even up the ante more than his badass vocals already. He has some hooky parts on there, and the beats are groovy. They have everything from skank beats to two-steps, to beat downs, to breakdowns, to slams. I mean, this thing is heavy. It's awesome. It's like a metal lover's dream, this record is. I absolutely love it. There's actually even a dynamic acoustic part towards the end that is totally incredible. The production is perfect and keeps the dirt and gives that signature poppy snare sound that they always have. Couple cool features, and I was super impressed by this record. Absolutely love it. Also, speaking of super impressed, moving on to Fuming Mouth, The Ringing Bell. This album is absolutely heavy as hell. It just pummels you. I loved it. HM2 hardcore death metal, but it goes places. It takes you on a journey. It does remind me of some kind of old school At the Gates, especially in the vocal department, kind of mixed with some dismember at times. Well-written songs. Kurt Ballou produced it, so it's got this nice natural raw tone to it, but it's absolutely great. And these 13-year vets from Massachusetts put out 34 minutes of excellent work, and I really fuck with this album. This year's just been incredible for albums. I don't know how I'm going to pick a top 10, but I'm going to tell you that it's probably going to be like a top 50 because there's so many badass albums. And, you know, I'm speaking of bands that are doing meaningful stuff, so let's get into this death tribute that I've mentioned. So this band, Left to Die. The album is Intium Mortis. This is a group that consists of Matt Harvey from vocals, from Exhumed, and Gruesome on vocals and guitar. Rick Ross on guitar, who is X-Death and X-Massacre. Terry Butler, bass. He's in Obituary, X-Death, X-Massacre as well. And Gus Rios on drums, Gruesome, and X-Malevolent Creation. So former Death members on Relapse Records, but to honor Chuck Schuldner's legacy. And here's the thing, it actually does sound like old Death, just with 2026 production. Rather than writing new material, the supergroup took unreleased or crude pre-1987 boombox rehearsal tracks and early tape trading demos written by Chuck himself and put them out. So an ode to Chuck and homage to Chuck. The vocals are eerily close to Chuck's delivery, almost tardy from Obituary style and old school Chuck from Death. The solos even nail some of his tricks, like with some of the harmonies and the old harmonies that he used to do. If you grew up on Scream, Bloody Gore or Human, man, this is going to hit you right in the nostalgia. These guys did a great job of this. Even the recording kind of sounds like a more polished production of something that you would hear off Leprosy or Human. Or, Leprosy or Scream, Bloody Gore. They did a great job at that, and for me to say that, and for me to really like this album is a lot because Chuck's one of my heroes. So, all right, we're going to go through some more, and we're just going to rapid fire them real quick. We got Bone Ripper, Radiant, and Ruin. This is kind of for fans of the Haunted, Hatebreed, Walls of Jericho. Hardcore, it grew on me by the end. Each song kind of has its own identity by the end, doesn't get too samey, and it is 29 minutes of good shit. Devil Driver put out a record called Strike and Kill. There's some really good stuff on this, really heavy groove metal, dark metal, straight up metal with good and catchy songwriting. The vocals are badass on it. To me, the only downfall with this record was I just thought it was a little long. I just didn't think it needed to be this long. I like more about 40 minutes, and they almost clocked in 60 minutes. I guess if that's how much material you have and that's what you want to put out, to each their own. The art, I'm just telling you what I like. We're going on to the legends that have been around since 1995. Devourment. They dropped a surprise EP called Pious Impiety. This is brutal, slammy, top-tier death metal, what you would expect from them, but this is actually one of the better recordings and productions I've heard. It's still got that edge and death metalness to it, and it's perfect for death metal. The one thing about Devourment that's always turned me off was it was just real hard to discern what was going on because their mixes were always muddy and dull, but this one actually is really cool, so check it out. Another band, Flesh Crawl. This is called Epitome of Carnage. These Germans have been death metaling since 1987, if you can believe it. I just kind of heard of them, but or maybe I heard about them along the way, but never really knew too much about them or checked them out. But to me, it was kind of like, was this mixed by a guitar player? Because God, the guitar is loud on this, and the guitar tone takes over everything. Kind of leaves the drums washed out. It's kind of like 40% groove, 60% like D-beat and thrash. Another almost kind of like Dismember HM2 style Swedish. I know, like I said, they were Germans, but European style death metal. There's some melodicism to it. Not a bad record though. I will say that. Another one, you got Theodis, another new band to me. That's why I like doing this. I discover new bands all the time. This is called The Irredeemable Age for fans of Internal Bleeding, Suffocation, Morbid Angel, Oppressor, Cephalic Carnage. All bands I absolutely love. This is groovy, grindy death metal. It's natural death metal. Production-wise, the album is pretty clean, but very natural. So you can tell there's just not a whole lot of editing and extra details going into things that aren't necessary in death metal. It's got some ugliness to it, but it's also clean and punchy, and I like it. Groovy, grindy, like I said, and a smidge of slam and thrash. Absolutely love this, and probably will be jamming this again. A cool find on this month. Moving on, we got Carbon Tomb from Denmark. They give you 34 minutes of cool dissonant death metal on Passage to a Neutron Star is the name of the album. I love finding gems like this. It kind of reminds me of the Theodis as well. Very real sounding in the production. great dissonant death metal. They kind of use some more of the weird dissonant chords and almost black metal chords they sound at times, but they keep it more death metal with the vocal, with the low vocal. This was a cool one too. So Carbon Tomb, check that one out. That was dope. Moving on to something a little bit different here. We got There Were Wires, another new band to me, with the album Vessel. They were formed in Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts in 1999. So they've been around long for a while. This is 10 songs, 43 minutes, came out in June, at the end of June. This is kind of like indie sludge hardcore, Natural in the Room production, very indie mixed punk rock sound. There's a little more angst on the top of it, though, so very cool. Very basic in the playing, but like solid. Like you don't always need to be doing over-the-top things, but this kind of made it worth it. It does slow down, gets moody at points, like the 6-minute song Unraveling. Bass complements the riffs very well. Great dynamics. It takes you places. I do like the heavier elements on the record, but not a bad record at all. So along those kind of lines, we move into Lover's Teeth, which was more adjacent to this. It's kind of like indie metal. There are parts that sound like Alice in Chains almost, mixed with sludge and metal indie adjacent outliers with their own identity. Floral Violence is the name of this, and I thought it was actually an overall dope record. Moving on, we got Boundaries. I know a lot of people are big fans of this band or fans of music like this. Most of this is just knuckle-dragging breakdowns that kind of sounds like 5,000 other bands already doing this. But to me, I felt like there were elements on there that I did enjoy. It was about 35% of it. I was like, this is really, really good. I mean, don't get me wrong. These guys can play, but I just get tired of the same old breakdowns over and over. And if it's just breakdown, it just loses its luster after a little bit. So there are some good ideas buried in here. I do love it when they do go into clean singing and get a little more song structure in there. These are super talented dudes. But just not quite original enough for me to like love these guys. Kind of genre samey, just breakdowns all the time. Just heavy, trying to be the heaviest guys, and sometimes like I want you to just play and write a good song. An absolutely weird one, and a band that I just became familiar of that been around for a while. Loathe, A Stranger to You. To me, this was the outlier of the month. This was genre blending, keeps you interested the whole 55 minutes. This goes overall all over the place, but it is very well done. This record is hard to put into words. They go into new metal parts, groove parts, heavy, distorted, weird parts, almost electronic parts sometimes. This does take you all over, and this band is its own thing. So if you want something that's a little more out there, check out this Loathe record, A Stranger to You. I liked a lot of the talking and singing parts as well. This is a piece of art. Check it out. Couple more here, just right at the end of the month I squeezed in, and then we'll get to probably one of the best of the month. So 2 more. Sallow Moth. This kind of came out towards the very, very end of July here. To me, this was just like another album, death metal album that suffers from just a terrible production. I would say fire the mixer. When you have a band like this, it's just noise without discernible mix. The band is already noisy. And then if you have like a terrible mix on top of it and you just don't know what the hell's going on, it just sounds like some great stuff going on here. But man, I could only get through 2 songs of this as well, just because of the terrible mix. Lots of potential for this band, and imagine live, they're probably cool, but oh my God, I could not do this record. Another one I jumped in, Hasrod, Advent of Suffering. Sorry. This is for fans of like Death, Obituary, Necrophobic. They're an active old school death metal band formed in Houston, Texas in 2019. They actually are on Redefining Darkness Records, and they're inspired by classic 1990s death metal. Lots of repeating parts, lots of good songwriting. So those bands that I mentioned, that's kind of what you're going to find. A lot of cool riffs, guitar-wise, some great solos by James Murphy and Andy LaRocque on here. They have some slow, held-out parts, just like an Obituary or Old School Death would. The bass sounds great on this. The drums are kind of like death metal. They don't go with super grind blasty, but they do have skanks and D-beats, so they do keep that old school death metal alive. And that brings us to the 2 that I saved for last. two of the best ones of the month, even though there were some absolutely bangers in here. And I could have probably put a couple of the ones that I listened to, No Cure or whatever here. But let's get into these last two real quick. We're going to go with Protest the Hero Within. These guys are an acclaimed 5-piece progressive metal mathcore band from Ontario, and they've been around since 99, so a long time, right? Fucking awesome as always. Top tier everything. Musical masters to me. This was 8 songs, 35 minutes, so a great length, great songs. The production is very clean but real, and you hear some extra production elements in the back, like keys and synths, stuff like that. Some of the stuff they add for backing tracks. You can hear the bass and it rips. Just doesn't seem like it's too forward in the mix, but the guitar players always rule. The great melody, great dynamics, riffs and fills, of course. Some real shred, as you would expect from a Protest the Hero. The drums are technical and tight, as always. Kind of more prog style beats and grooves. Nothing like straightforward thrash or anything, but kind of some upbeat. Roddy's signature vocals, absolutely falsetto, high stuff, all over the place with the great melodies, the great singing, the tongue-in-cheek lyrics, some gang vocals. I did hear a few kind of lower death growls and not many screamings in this, like Fry screams. I do miss that part of the band. He just doesn't do that as much, but it's probably already a lot on the vocal. And this anthemic and moody and some beautiful personal lyrics. Absolutely love this one. Another one that surprised me in a band that doesn't have a huge following, but kind of blew me away with this because this is my style of death metal. This is Necrocosm. These guys are a 5-piece American melodic death metal band formed in 2011 from Raleigh, North Carolina. This was actually just an EP, 5 songs, 20 minutes. This came out on the 17th of July. To me, this was sweeter than a pre-diabetic's breakfast because precision on every instrument. I'm a sucker for melodic death metal, and that's what you get with this. Kind of one vocal, but mostly it's done well, and there is a few lower mixed death metal Fry vocals in there as well. To me, this kind of riffs are more like Black Dahlia-esque, Volcandra style, two bands I really love, but they add a little more Blackened elements in there. Great additional melodic elements and solos to build on the already awesome riffs. It's just badass riff after badass riff. Absolutely loved it. The rhythm is held down really well in this. The drums are freaking fantastic. I love them. Fast, tight, grindy. Love it all. They had all the new death metal tricks going on in here. Not over the top technical stuff, but absolutely cool. Love the beats. Love the blast. They had almost a Euro feel to it, a little bit of it. Must be a North Carolina thing. Not a ton of callbacks, which I'm usually a stickler on, but I think after another listen, I might be able to recognize a few, but I was just impressed riff after riff. But the vocals do have patterns that you can follow and something stickable. So, out of the 20-plus albums this month, one total disaster, one legacy act that somehow nailed a nearly impossible tribute, and a handful of records that remind you why you still check for new metal every single week. This is the whole reason why I do these, there's just too much stuff that comes out that just gets buried. And for me, I'm just on a constant pursuit of new music. The only bad thing sometimes is I don't get to go back and listen to as many as I want to. I'm trying to get ready for an end of the year list. Usually I go through 75, and that's kind of where I'm at. I think I'm already at 250, and we're only in month 8 here. So absolutely love this. Make sure you follow the Metal Maniacs podcast for more reviews like this. I'm just dropping this as well on YouTube this month. I'm not putting this on the Patreon because I'm trying to switch up the format a little bit on some of the podcasts and get them out a little more and make some a little shorter ones. So if you listen all the way to the end, appreciate this. Go check out some of these albums. Tell me what, give me some feedback. Tell me what your favorite ones were. Drop them in the comments. Tell me some I missed because I'll go back and listen to those as well and tell you what I thought about them. And with that being said, all that stuff, like, share, subscribe. We are the Metal Maniacs. Much love. Peace. Thank you so much for checking out the episode. If you're watching on YouTube, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It really helps our channel grow. If you want to be notified when a new episode comes out every Tuesday or a bonus episode, hit that bell so you can be alerted of that. Also, if you're just listening to the show, please consider taking a couple seconds to give us a 5-star review over on your favorite platform. We really appreciate that, and it does go a long way. Share the show with a friend if you discovered a new band or like what we do here. And if you want bonus content and early episodes, you can go over and support us on Patreon to keep this show going and help build this show bigger than what it is, and I really appreciate that. A lot goes into this show, so that helps us out a ton. And if you want to join the community, there's a Discord link below. It's free to join. You can pop on in. We can keep the conversation going over there. Also, shout out to Josh Hibbs and our sponsor, Dave Stark at Stark Realty, for making this show possible. And much love. Keep it metal. Thank you.